We're here with Scott Evans. He's one of the top loan officers, not only in our market, but in the country. He's one of the top VA lenders. He's done over $2 billion in volume over his career. So this guy is a true expert on getting deals closed and how to convert buyers to closed sales. So very excited to have him on today. Again, we're going to go in depth on, winning the buyer presentation, getting all the contracts taken care of the right way, and all of those things. So, Scott, appreciate you being on, and let's get started.
So thank you. Thank you, Oliver. I'm switching gears on this presentation today. Uh, with there's some homes, sitting on the market a little bit longer right now with November to December. So I decided what I'd do is go into some content for the listing agents and material, but we will of course address the buy side business as well. But this is some new material I was going over. So for
Awesome.
those that don't know me, my name is Scott Evans. I'm 18 years in the mortgage industry locally, and I've had the good fortune of helping over 20,000 families buy here in Southern California. And just to confirm, you guys can all see my screen, right? My 4 pillars of value. Correct? Yep. All right. So my biggest strength to all of you is my 4 pillars of value. See, my 4 pillars of value is designed to help increase your sales productivity and efficiency. So we're going to go into pillar number 1, which is my pre-approval process. So the mortgage industry has always lacked a clear and concise pre-approval process. In other words, there was really no standard back in 2010, and there's really no standard today. So I figured if I'm specializing in working with real estate agents, it is my duty to ensure that every client that we work together, that client is going to close and fund successfully. So I decided to build out my pre-approval process that is thorough, that's accountable, and is accessible when my agents are operating. And in thinking about putting this pre-approval process together, I said, okay, how can I build out a 7-day-a-week, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. a year, 364-day-a-year process, right? Leaving no stone unturned. In other words, every customer would be underwritten. So my agents have peace of mind knowing that the loan will close and fund successfully. But at the same time, how do we make sure that the buyer knows exactly where they stand, monthly payments, closing costs, everything? So there's no pop-up surprises during the contractual period. So my pre-approval process is my number 1 value proposition to all of you that are on this Zoom call. So my pre-approval process operates 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. It's 364 days a year, only close Christmas Day. Now, I know that if you're newer to my team, this might sound like a punchline, but in reality, it operates when others are not. 4th of July, Memorial Day, right? Labor Day, Saturday at 3 o'clock. When customers are calling, we're answering live. When customers are calling, we're taking their application over the phone. We're facilitating their documents. We'll have them pre-underwritten, whether it's Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend, or any other holiday, with the exception of Christmas, right? So
Can I just jump in there? Because I really do want to just give a quick endorsement, Scott. His team's really remarkable. So if you guys aren't already working with a lender partner, give these guys a try. I mean, they are open 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., 364 days a year. He's got hundreds and hundreds of 5-star reviews. So just give them a shot. His team's amazing, and I promise you and your clients will be blown away. And if you already are working with someone, put Scott in the backup position. And or if you need VA loans, he's an absolute expert on VA loans and all that kind of stuff. So we really appreciate you, Scott. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Yeah, number 1 VA lender in the United States. Well, I'm actually number 3, and then number 1 loan officer in the state of California out of every single loan officer in the U.S. So, but I want to walk through, our pre-approval process so you can see how simple it is. So we take the application over the phone. Do we have an online app? 100%. But in my opinion, when a lender sends them to an online app, like, who's that benefiting? The client or the lender, right? So in my opinion, when you send them to do an online app, it's like, hey, you go figure out your loan. When you're done, come back to me, right? Where instead we take it over the phone. Because we take it over the phone, we know what documents to collect, which is, step number 2. They send those documents over. Then we pre-underwrite that file on step number 3, which also my underwriters operate 7 days a week. And then number 4 is we have a detailed consultation with the client. We're going over rates, payments, cash to close, tax benefits, everything. So there's no misunderstanding, right? And then what we do is we put in writing to not only the buyer and the buyer's agent, everything from that call. So we take our conditional approval and put it right there in red to both the buyer and the buyer's agent. So there's no misunderstanding. I didn't know I needed you needed an extra pay stub, or we needed gift funds, or I needed to get a job. It's right there in red. So there's no misunderstanding. So my second pillar of value, if you think about it, when you're working with the buyer and they, of course, they can get financing through our system, they find the perfect home that they love. Now we got to make an offer. And so in today's transitional market, there are homes with multiple offers, and then there are homes that have been on the market with, no offers, right, whatsoever. So our offer process is designed to either eliminate the buyer competition or negotiate better terms. Lisa said, I'm in Fresno and I referred, thank you, Lisa. She said, I referred a client to Scott's team, didn't go through, but his team was super helpful. Thank you, Lisa. So our offer process is designed to eliminate the buyer competition or designed to help our buyers negotiate a better price, a better terms, because of our speed and execution. So I'm honored to say my offer process, which is the 7 elements of structuring and winning an offer, has gotten more contracts accepted in the most competitive years, right? 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and we're on track year to date because the agents are following the 7 elements of structuring and winning an offer, which honestly has a 90% success rate with competing and winning and eliminate buyer competition. So, of course, we also need the strategy specifically with the NAR changes that took place, right? Credits coming back from the seller for compensation is critically important. I wanted to pause for a second. I asked Savannah to jump on as well, and I just wanted to have her just give a quick little testimony. I just saw that she jumped onto the Zoom. She started working with our team just a few months ago. So I just wanted to have Savannah give a little third-party testimonial if she can.
Can you hear me?
Yep, there we
Yes.
go.
I'm so sorry I'm late and I'm driving, but yeah, I just wanted to hop on. I recently started working with Scott and his team. We have been in, my partner and I, my sister and I have been in the business for over 17 years. And I've worked with builders and developers, and I was one of the first people for KB Homes sales in Temecula. And I worked as senior underwriter for JP Morgan before the crash, the first crash. I don't know if we had a second one after that, but so I knew a lot about lending coming into it, and I had a team of lenders that I worked with. And then I met Scott, and he literally changed my entire team structure and how we put offers. And as a matter of fact, all the agents that we started working with are converting to work with Scott and his team. They literally have the best system that updates you, that makes sure that you are always in control of your transaction and you know what you're doing. If they give you a hard yes, then it is a yes. If they tell you to wait a couple days, you wait a couple days. I trust them fully. They're always available to chat, emails, literally 7 days a week until like 8:30, 9 o'clock. They can get on the phone and take your call. I saved a recent deal. We had a listing in downtown. It's a condo. and we almost lost it. And Scott and his team jumped in, been working with the agent and the buyer, and now we are, you know, in escrow about to close. So I highly, highly recommend that you try them out. I really do.
Thank you. Thank you for jumping on. And,
Yeah.
you know, I saw
So
her Facebook post on the Big Block post, and then Sam connected us, and, you know, Savannah's ordered our buyer presentation, a lot of the other, you know, value adds that we provide. So thanks for the third party testimonial. So it means a lot.
absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so
Have a good meeting,
Savannah,
guys.
thank
Hmm?
you. So what Savannah, she's using are 7 elements of a winning offer, because we know both listing agents and sellers want certainty. And the way that we give certainty is through our fast, short contingency periods. So I'm going to cover quickly our 7 elements of structuring a winning offer. So number 1, let's assume for a second you're working with a buyer, you got the sales contract pulled out, you're right, you're going to make an offer. This is between, of course, you and the buyer, but I always recommend, you know, price to win. Here's my 7 elements. So price to win. This is, of course, between you and the buyer. The only part I play in is, are we qualified for that amount? Second element of our 7 elements of winning offer is inspection period. While I know some agents do 7 or 10 days, it's incredibly important that we shrink our terms with inspection period, which ideally 5 days inspection period is where we want to be. And the reason that is it's going to tie into the rest of our offer process. But I think we can agree, first and foremost, that the inspection period in today's market, right, is the decision-making period. During that time, buyers are making decisions, right? They're deciding if they want to buy that home. Some people are flying from Northern California into town to see the house for the first time. They're checking out the school system and so on. So the inspection period, right, while of course they're getting an inspection, is also the decision making period. So we like to keep it 5 days because it ties into the rest of our offer process. Element number 3 is the loan approval period, right? Element number 3 is the loan approval period. Now, interesting enough, I've been talking about loan approvals since 2010, right? Over 14 years. And it's fascinating to me. It's the most overlooked component, but yet the most impactful during the offer process. Because if we stop and think about it, the loan approval period is the period of time the seller has to wait to start packing their home, right? Now, in our local market, some people do 15, 21 days for a loan approval period, which, to be direct, is far too long. So our loan approval period that we promote 7 days a week, 364 days a year, from 8 to 9, is 5 days for conventional, 5 days for FHA, 5 days for VA, right? 5 days. Then once we get them fully underwritten, right, we'll put in writing that we can then be able to remove the loan contingencies, right? So there's no misunderstanding. And then for jumbo loans and our specialty loans and non-QM loans, big statement loans, DSCR loans, we're at 7 days. So 5 days, and then the other type of product are at 7 days. But we put this in writing from us to both the buyer and the buyer's agents, so there's no misunderstanding on the timelines that we're committed to hitting. Element number 4 of our 7 elements is waiving the appraisal contingencies. Now, when we are in a competitive environment, right, a lot of lenders and agents have waived this contingency, but we always say we're waiving the appraisal contingencies safely, right? And the reason why we're saying we're doing it safely, because what's going to happen is we're going to have the appraisal delivered on conventional FHA jumbo transactions within 3 to 4 days during that contingency period. So we have the data back from the appraisal, right? If the appraisal comes in, let's say low, what are we going to do? Right? You're going to do the exact same thing that you've always done. First, you're going to send the comps to us, right? You're still going to send us comps. We're going to send it back to the appraisal management company. They're going to, look at that. Let's say that doesn't work. Then can we restructure the loan, right? Can we look at restructuring the loan? But we need the data to figure out if we can do that. Let's say that doesn't work. Can the client bring in some money, right? Can they bring in some money? That's another solution. And then worse is, you go back to the listing agent. Look, we're in contract for 808. The appraisal came in at 795. my buyer is willing to bring in $5,000 to make up the difference. What is your seller willing to do? Right. And if that doesn't work, then you cancel due to inspection period, right? Because you still have that as an inspection, right? As an out. So either waive the appraisal contingency, or if you're not comfortable waiving the appraisal, have it match our inspection period, right? And then element number 5 is we recommend closing in as quickly as 10 days. We are emphatic about 10-day closings. My team loves 10-day closings. Like 30% of our production last month closed in 10 days. It's something that gives our real estate partners maximum leverage. It's unorthodox. It yields unorthodox results, right? It's uncomfortable for most agents, right, to do 10-day closings. But I got to tell you, most of the buyers that I encountered are in for the ride, especially if you can use this to get a better price, better terms, or even eliminate the competition. So 10-day closing unconventional, 10 days for FHA, 10 days for VA, jumbo. We're committed to 14 days, non-QM loans, a bank statement, DSCR loans, any other things that's not a jumbo is at 16, and our down payment assistance, 25 to 30 days. That's just how long it takes for those particular loans. Element number 6, right? Texting me the listing agent's information, right? I try not to ever delegate this task, right? I like to call the listing agent during the offer process, right? Which I have a script that I use, like every time, like, hey, let's say the listing agent's name is Jane. Hey, Jane, this is Scott Evans with Cross Country Mortgage. How are you today? I see that Adrian sent an offer on one of your great listings. And the reason for the call today is first to validate all the terms and timelines that he had in his sales contract. And I know we can't talk about price, but we can talk about terms. So I see that Adrian offered you $775 offer, 5-day inspection period, 5-day loan approval period. He waived the loan contingent, waived the appraisal, closing in 10 days. So again, we can't talk about price, but we talk about terms. Are there any other offers that have better terms? And see, what a lot of times happens is the listing agent is questioning the timelines. So then I send them text messages, examples of recent 10-day closings so they can get more certainty and see examples of other transactions, right? That's, so texting me the listing agent's phone number, right there's my cell phone. I don't delegate the task. And then element number 7, right? Copying me on the offer personally, because what I'm going to do is not only call, I'm going to also put in text. I'm going to reply back an email that I can meet all the timelines written in the offer, not only to you if you're on the buyer side, but also to the listing agent. And then I give 7 additional reasons why they should select our offer instead of, competing offers. So those that are newer to working with us, right? Test our system out, right? Let's walk through an offer together, right? So, because some of you, this might be new and it feels a little uncomfortable, but winning is uncomfortable. Now, my third pillar of value is my service advantage. See, the challenge that many home buyers have during the home process, and I'm sure you've all had feedback from a client, right? And they something like this. Every time the mortgage company keeps asking me for the same documents, right? And they give you this feedback. And it's interesting is sometimes it can seem like we're asking for repetitive documents. So I said, I want to eliminate that, that feedback. So I didn't want to have this back and forth via email over a 3-week period. So I believe that every home buyer should invest no more than 60 minutes in the mortgage process, 60 minutes. So how do we do that? The moment a buyer gets under contract, what we do is we arrange for a 30-minute call and we let the client know, please allow for 30 minutes, ideally be in front of your computer, right? So what's going to happen is when we arrange that call, we're going to have our processor also on that call. And collectively, when they're over that phone call, they're going to go over the documents that are needed. And because they're in front of the computer, most of the clients have those documents on their PC or their laptop. And while they're on the phone call, they're going to send the documents over. And our processor is not going to get off the phone until we receive the documents. We're going to go over the documents and then let them know what other items that are needed on that call, right? Because the traditional process, right? What happens? Processor goes through the file. They send an email to the client. The client, gets it. They're going to now their son's soccer game, right? I'll look at this tomorrow morning. So Wednesday morning comes around, They're like, oh, I'm busy at work. I'll get this Wednesday night. So they send over the bank statements. They send over some documents. The processor gets it on Thursday, right? They open it up. Oh, we're missing page 5 of the bank statement. So then they reply back later on that Thursday. And it's that back and forth, back and forth. So when we set up that 30-minute call, right, in advance, we go over what's needed and we don't get off that phone call, eliminating that back and forth. And then once we get the loan approval, we set up another 30-minute call, right, with the client where they're in front of the computer, our team is in front of the computer, and they send the documents over. So that way the time invested is under 60 minutes. So do you see how my mind works? I'm looking at our streamlining our process and how we can create a better service for the customer, which the client, and of course, all of you. Now, Cross Country Mortgage, #1 retail mortgage company in the United States. 1 out of 44 homes that close in the US, Cross Country does the loan for. And #1 loan officer in the state of California right now on the Zoom call in front of all of you. So interest rates, competitive interest rates, right? Check that box. Extensive loan products, check that box. There's not a product that we don't have. And then my last pillar of value is our growing together, right? Growing together is so important. So excellence in customer service, closing on time, that is par for the course. But the question becomes, right, how do we grow our market share together? So I take a lot of great pride in doing luncheons and trainings like this and coming up with additional value propositions that are very untraditional in the marketplace, all designed to give agents that competitive advantage in today's marketplace. So I want to cover with you some of those examples of growing together and some additional value propositions that you all can use. So these are going to be more on the listing side today. So first one, as a listing agent, do we agree that selecting the right offer is critical to the success of the transaction and our reputation, right? You got 5 offers on your listing. You help the seller select an offer and get under the contract. 2 weeks later, there's an issue. Is the seller pointing directly at you? 100%. So how do we protect ourselves, our seller, and our reputation in a scenario like this? And the way that we do that, right, is we ask the right questions in advance before the seller signs the contract. So I created Ask 10, Demand 10. So I compiled the top 10 questions agents should ask loan officers before having the seller sign the contract. Now it's whether it's you, an admin, or someone on your sales support team. And this isn't like to chastise a loan officer by no means. What it's designed to do is to get some dialogue, because it's going to make sure that they did a thorough job. Because I think we can agree, right? The biggest flaw in the mortgage side of the industry is a lack of a pre-approval process. So I'm going to ask just a few of these questions and the why of the question. So we're going to look at question number 4. Have you reviewed the buyer's tax returns for the past 2 years? I mean, that's a pretty important question, right? Question number 5, have you gathered and verified the home buyer's cash to close? See, it's getting them to think, because watch, there are a lot of loan officers that are truly honest out there. They're going to say, hey, wait a minute. You know what? I didn't necessarily take it that far. Can I get back to you on that? Or let me look in the file a little bit deeper. You see, it's getting them to say, wait a minute, did I really do this? Which is super important. But now check out question number 8. Can you as a lender commit to a 10-day appraisal, loan and appraisal contingency removal? See, it's my belief that a listing agent should not accept more than 10 days on any contingency period, because why should you all wait greater than 10 days, right? And so for the Team Evans trained agent, they know they should not be accepting more than 10 days, because you all have a partner that can do it in 5 days, right? Now, 5 days is very quick. So let's give some forgiveness for the loan officers out there, right? And so we're saying you should only ask for 10 because you all know that I can do it in 5, right? Is that getting your seller better terms? 100%. Because if something goes sideways, right, you might as well know in day 10 versus 17 days. Why is that important? Because I think we all can agree on this call. If there's an issue on a transaction, doesn't it always happen in the 11th hour, right? So if it's on the last minute, the last day of day 17, you might as well get the call on day 10 versus day 17, right? So how do we protect your listing inventory and reputation? So we talked about if a transaction goes sideways, the seller's looking directly at you. So they're looking at you, which is not going to make for a happy customer, and that's not going to make for happy reviews. So how do we protect ourselves? How do we get our seller the best term? And so I compiled compliant MLS listing verbiage. Seller requests that all financing offers reflect no more than 10 days for loan approval and appraisal contingency removal. If desired, the Scott Evans team at Cross Country Mortgage, my NMLS number, can issue loan approvals, including appraisal completions in 5 days and close in 10 days. Buyers not required to use Scott Evans at Cross Country Mortgage have offer accepted. The Scott Evans team operates 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then right there is my personal cell phone, 619-723-7289. Now, I want to say this is not designed for me to get another transaction. So let me walk you through what happens when you have this on your listing, right? So you got an offer, an agent calls you up. Great. What are the terms? It's an $850,000 offer. Wonderful. Are they getting a mortgage? Yes, they are. Okay. What are the loan approval periods? 17 days. Oh, no. We need 10 days. 10 days. That's kind of fast. I know it's fast, but my lender can do it in 5. So what's the next phone call they're going to do? What's the agent going to do? They're going to pick up the phone and they're going to call the loan officer. So hello, loan officer. Yes, I know you told me 17 days, but we need to be in 10 days. We're in a multiple offer situation. Oh, I don't know. 10 days is pretty quick. I know it's pretty quick, but their lender says they can do it in 5. Well, who's their lender? Scott Evans. Oh, that asshole. Forget it. Tell him we're going to do it in 10, right? Will you tell him we'll close it? We'll do it in 10 days. So now watch, did you get your seller better terms? See, you're leveraging my speed to get your seller better terms because no one wants to lose a transaction to me, right? And that's the name of the game. Agents have been doing this for years. So that's one of 2 scenarios that'll take place, right? The second scenario is when we're working with those lovely big banks and conglomerates, right? Hello, Chase. So I know you told me 21 days for a loan approval, but we're in this multiple offer situation. We need 10 days. We're Chase. It's 21 days. Right. Well, I guess, Scott Evans can do it in 5 days. Maybe they'll be open, to using our services and close in 10. Right. So you want to leverage our speed to get your seller better terms and protect yourself and your reputation. Agents have been doing, we've been doing business for years, right? They'll pull out, right, the top 10 questions they're going to ask the loan officer. Here's the MLS verbiage that we're going to put in the listing, right? They're going to integrate this in their listing presentation to make sure that every offer comes in has aggressive timelines. So your seller's not waiting around figuring out if this transaction is going to close or not. So another value proposition that we rolled out is called the ultimate listing tool. So we know when we go into a transitional market, there are homes that have multiple offers, right? And then there are homes that are sitting a little bit longer depending on the geographic location and city. So we came up with something called the ultimate listing tool because it's complicated sometimes in a transitional market to really nail down the value, right? Because your CMA and your market, of course, but a CMA can only get you so close. So we came up with a pre-appraisal process for agents so they can determine the value of the property. And once they determine, then they can determine what type of seller credit can be given to a home buyer, attracting them to come purchase your listing. Because if we think about it for a moment, if a home is sitting a little bit longer, there's more value to a buyer getting a seller credit than a price reduction. There's more value to a buyer getting a seller credit than a price reduction, because a price reduction is really minimal in terms of the monthly payment difference. A price reduction is minimal in terms of down payment, right? But a seller credit can eliminate closing costs, can buy down their interest rate to a high degree and do so much more. So here's the question. How do we know what type of seller credit to give if we don't have a starting point, which is the value? So the ultimate listing tool allows you to order a pre-appraisal, which I negotiated on behalf of our appraisal management company, which is $400. Now, that's $400 of the cost of appraisal. And strategically, we keep this as a drive-by appraisal. Meaning, and the reason we do this is several agents order these without the seller or the customer having any idea that you do this. So you have the appraisal done. And once you see the value, you like the value, and then you want to share it with the seller. All right. Because when you start and think about it, once we know the starting point of what it appraised at, rather than doing a price reduction, we can then talk to the seller about a credit. And what do I mean by that? So I want to walk you guys through a visual. Let's assume for a second, you had an $825,000 listing that has been sitting on the market for 2 months. The traditional price reduction would have been what? $30,000, get it under 800,000 price point to $795. So if we reduce that 825 listing by $30,000, the monthly payment difference for the buyer is around $210 a month. That's the benefit, right? But watch, if we kept that sales price at $825 and we did a $30,000 credit to do a 3-2-1 buy down, where now the buyer can save $1,271 a month for month one, year one, $867. Yes, Lisa, Fresno area too. Yeah, we can do this in Fresno as well. Yes. So $867 a month for year two, $443 a month for year three, right? Now, you guys understand buy downs, but I'll just explain it once more. It is a 30-year fixed mortgage. And what happens is that $30,000 goes into an account held by the mortgage company, and it pays the difference on that 30-year fix for the client to have the savings. So year one, month one, $1,271 a month, $867 for year two, $443 for year three. And then it goes back to the 30-year fix that they had on year, just because there's a 30-year fix. If they sell or refinance within that 3 years, any money that not used on that buy down is applied towards the principal reduction, right? So do you all see the benefit on doing doing this strategy compared to a price reduction? So the way that we do this is you order a pre-appraisal, and once we determine the value, then we determine the credit. Then we give you broker approved MLS remarks stating that this home comes with a seller credit, and they've used the Scott Evans team at Cross Country Mortgage. The same appraiser on file will be the same appraiser that did the pre-appraisal, will be the same appraiser that we did in contract. So it gives you all a fixed grid in terms of value in regards to the credit, right? So here's an example of co-branded flyers. So when you order Ultimate Listing Tool, we then create the flyers so you can see how much the buy downs, how much cost it is as well. So that way you can go have a conversation with a seller. Here's the value. Here's the credit that we should do doing a buy down. And then you can advertise it to any buyers. Here, Mr. Buyer, here's the value. Here's the credit. So therefore they're in their mind, they're getting a deal because they're buying it under value. So another strategy to induce the sale. Another thing that we do, we also provide buy now, refinance later. Our company is so confident that rates will pull back that we're doing a lender for life refinance, meaning that we'll refinance them for free for one time when rates pull back. So it's just another, value add that we provide to your customer, the clients that are buying the home. Now, I know this is a lot of material, but I'm going to hit you all with one more value proposition. Actually, I got two more. The third value proposition that we rolled out for your listings and listing agents like yourself is something called Sell It Like a Builder. So a few months ago, or actually maybe about 6-7 months ago, I got a call from a builder developer that had 40 unit project that he was put on the market. And he says, Scott, I want to sell these units quickly. What do you think we should do? I said, well, in today's market, of course, interest rates are still a pain point for buyers. So ideally, we need to give them some type of temporary rate buy down or some type of buy down situation. He was like, well, I was thinking about reducing the price. So I walked them through the buy down, and, because remember, home buyers find more value in a credit at closing versus a price reduction. So I worked with that builder, and we came up with a 3-2-1 buy down on every single one of his listings. And it dawned, and I shared the cost with that developer because I just got 40 listings. And it dawned on me, if I can do this for a developer, why can't I do it for every individual agent, whether you all have 1 listing, 3 listings, 10 listings? So we came up with Sell It Like a Builder, which now gives listing agents that same advantage. So now you can compete with new construction. So what do I mean by that? If we take a look at this flyer on the screen, today, the problem in a transitional market, there are listings with multiple offers, but then there are listings that are sitting a little longer with no activity. The Scott Evans team, the solution is Scott Evans team partners with sellers and agents to provide below market interest rates to prospective home buyers to help them sell the listing faster. The Scott Evans team shares in the cost of the rate buy down with the seller in order to make this really attractive. So how do we get started? It's a very simple process where you can click and get your listing started today. So I want to give you an example of some various buy downs. We got the 3-2-1 buy down. All right, sorry, the 1-1, the 2-1, and the 3-2-1 buy down. I will contribute up to 1% of the loan amount on any 3 of these buy downs. It is a true contribution, right? So at a bare minimum, I feel that every listing should have a 2-1 buy down advertised, right? So if we look at a 2-1 buy down, 2-1 buy down typically costs the seller around 2%, right? I'm going to split that with the seller. So 1% from me, 1% from the seller. So here's the question. Would your seller, that if you have a home that's been on the market greater than 30, 45, 60 days, would they accept 99% of the asking price? I think they would, because if you're offering this, they're only going to be obligated to give that 1% if the buyer comes in at full asking price. So if you have any of your listings today, would your seller take 99% of the asking price? I think they would. So this makes it a very attractive offer to get the home buyer to start, the talk, right? Now the buyer comes in, they want to negotiate, offer $30,000 less. You're going to leave this as a negotiable item, right? You're not obligated to give this unless they give full asking. So at a bare minimum, I think every listing should have a 2-1 buy down because I'm splitting the cost with the seller. So you might ask, why am I doing this? Number one, I want to help you all out as an agent, right? You're my customer. So I'm always looking to gain, more relationships. But the truth of the matter, this is not very profitable, right? This is not a profitable endeavor for me. But we're doing this on a list side transaction. I would have never really gotten the deal to begin with. So I'm willing to work on such a reduced margin, of course, to help you all get another transaction you maybe not have had. And of course, there's the future of a refinance for me. And maybe your seller is looking to buy a home. So I'm taking a haircut on this to be able to get something else out of it, right? So if you would like to do a 2-1 buy down on any of your listings, we have free marketing. You all, I don't know why, I don't know if you were aware, but if you go to Scott Evans Marketing, we got marketing flyers, listing flyers, business development, buyer seller scripts. So if you want to implement any of those 2 strategies, the Sell Like a Builder or the ultimate listing tool, all you got to do is go to Scott Evans Marketing, select business development, and it has a bunch of different business development ideas. Ultimate listing tool, click the link, and you can order it for one of your listings. And my last value add, which is super important, condos, right? You got to have your head in the wall, like hold the ground if you don't realize there's issues with condos. So in effort to provide great value to you all, we have a free process for us to vet out condos. So let's first talk about what are the biggest challenges with condominiums. First, budget. Well, let me back up. There's this condo complex that crashed in South Florida, right? Crumbled, killed 80 plus people. After all the research that was done, it was due to structural issues. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, mom and pop, they changed their guidelines September of last year, where they're now looking for what are called critical repairs. So now they're required to get the budget, the reserve study. Those that are in California know that there's the SB 326 for the balconies. If there's special assessments, deferred maintenance, repairs, and they identify, if a lender identifies based on those documents a critical repair, the condo becomes ineligible for for conventional financing. Not the best way to sell a condo, accept an offer with conventional 30% down, 50% down, only to find out there's an issue 10 days later. Second issue, master insurance. There's tons of insurance happening, right? There's lots of condos that don't have the proper coverages. And then litigation, construction defect, kind of a thing of the past, but there's litigation due to critical repairs. So in my opinion, when selling a condo, you're really selling two components. The interior space, which is what you all do. You run a CMA, you determine the value, right? You're determining what that price is for that condo. But the second component is the HOA. It determines the financing ability of the buyer, because the lower the down payment, the bigger the buyer pool, the bigger the down payment, right? The smaller the pool buyer. So it makes sense to find out in the beginning what type of financing. So we rolled out what's called our 6 steps for condo options. So you go to the seller, Mr. Seller, in order for us to determine the financing for this condo, what we need to get from you is the budget and reserve study. They're a seller, they're entitled to it. If they have it, great. If they don't, reach out to the HOA, get the budget and reserve study. Second, get the master insurance, right? You all don't need to be an expert at all this. That's what our job is, right? So get this master insurance. And third, ask the seller to ask these 3 questions. What's the owner occupancy percentage? The reason we're asking that is we've been doing a lot of FHA spot approvals, right? So we get that question to determine if that's an option. And if we're doing an investment property with 20% down, we need to know the owner occupancy. That's the only reason we ask that question. And does one entity own more than 10%? That's usually if there's going to be an issue that rears its head. And is there HOA in litigation? The reason we're asking that is just to get that out of the way. Now, there could be other issues that come up that, we'll ask those questions as you guys send the information over. So you're going to email the name, the project name, budget, reserve study, master insurance, HOA information to Evans Condo, my team. And then within 24 to 48 hours, we're to come back to you with compliant listing verbiage, right? This condominium association has been reviewed by the Scott Evans team, may be eligible for as little as 3% down or 3.5% down FHA or, VA 5% down, whatever it is. Buyers are not, obligated to use Scott Evans cross country mortgage, et cetera. And then we'll provide you payment flyers for that condo. It's a free service, right? We know what we're looking at. So I would advise you use this service for any condos. You all sell condos, correct? So use the service, and I'll be happy to send all this material to Oliver and Sam as well. And I just added this week. This is the most simplistic buyer agent conversation, right? So you're a listing agent. A buyer agent called you up. How much compensation are you offering on your listing? Listing agent. Well, thanks so much for calling. How much are you looking for? Buyer agent. 3%. Listing agent. Excellent. Write up the offer. Right? Buyer agent. Well, what if I wanted 4%? Great. Why write up the offer? See, why are we cutting off the buyer agent and predetermine their compensation, right? Those days are over. We need the buyer agent in the deal. Yes or no, right? We need them to bring agents. We need to make sure agents are bringing the buyers. Otherwise, our listing is sitting a little bit longer, right? So agents, if they ask for 3%, counter offer whatever your seller wants, but don't cut the buyer agent commission. I think you all could agree that's happening all the time, right? The buyer's agent, the listing agent's cutting the compensation for the buyer side. So I want to be a trendsetter and change what's going on. So I would suggest raising the sale price if they're still looking to have their compensation, because why would we cut off the salesperson? We need them vested in the deal to bring the buyer, right? So so we can unload the listing. So as an example, you got a listing for 700,000. Offer comes in at 3%. So let's pretend your seller needs an additional 7,000, right? We're 7,000 apart. The typical response is, 700,000, you'll be at 2%, right? We're cutting off that 1% of their compensation, which is 7,000. So that's a typical response. 700,000, you'll be at 2%. So what about, and I don't think the salesperson would be too happy, right? So what about if you just did 707, keeping the 3%, right? Do you think the appraised value will support a 1% difference? So when an agent comes in wanting their desired compensation, what we're going to do is, just pull out the calculator, do a mathematical formula to get your seller the net proceeds. It's a cleaner approach. Like, I think a year from now, buyer agents are not necessarily going to be always calling the listing agent asking what their compensation is. So let's just get ahead of it. We're trendsetters. And the last thing to all of you that are in Southern California, in San Diego, Chula Vista, Orange County, Temecula, LA, we are doing a new series called Winning the Listing Presentation. Totally different presentation than what I just went over with you all today. And it's going to be at Luke's on Front, Wednesday, November 13th in Temecula. It's going to be in Seasons 52 in UTC on Thursday, the 14th. It's going to be in Orange County on the 19th, Chula Vista on the 20th, and then up in LA on the 21st at Capitol Grill. So if any of you would like to sign up for our events, right, I would love for you to come to our events. It's about an hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes. Nice lunch. You go to Scott Evans Events, right? So I know Sam has had me on now multiple times. This is, I think, my third time presenting to all of you. Those that have been on my previous presentations, I'd love for you to chime in. Was this material completely different than every single presentation you've had me on? So I love to get any feedback from any of you that are on this call today. Was this helpful to you all?
Yeah, feel free to jump in, guys, or put it in the chat. I certainly had several takeaways. I really like a few of the things that you're doing, in terms of like reverse pre-screening on listings. I think that's really cool that your team is like going out and helping pre-qualify and presenting that 10-day option. I also really like the simple script that you just presented on how we can get full commissions on our buy side, because I do think those conversations are happening every day, and to just have a simple way to talk about it makes a big difference.
So I'm going to wrap up with just talking about how to refer me personally, but there's two things I would love for you all to do. If you found value being on this call today, would you all do a third-party testimonial on the Facebook group, comment to your other colleagues? Because I mean, let's face it, you've sat down in front of a lender before, like they've done a presentation. Like when I say I'm providing different concepts and value add, was this not value on the list side? I have tons of other material. So when Sam offers and says that I'm going to be on a Zoom call, I would encourage you to be on the Zoom call, because I will bring fire content every single time. If you'd like to set up any type of one-on-one, I'm extremely balanced. I'll go into whatever material you would like to go into. So that's the first thing I would love for you to do. Second is, how would you, if you would like to refer us, 30% of our transactions are midstream transactions, where someone's not getting what they needed, or, they're not getting the customer service. The easiest way is a group text to my personal cell phone. So I would like you all, my cell phone's right here, send me a text message with your full name to right there on that my cell phone. The first thing, the 619-723-7289, a text message with your full name, and I'm going to save you in my phone. So you're in my phone, and then I'm going to reply back with 2 contact cards. One is my contact card, so you don't have to save it in. Second will be a CRM number. The reason I'm doing that is I want you to save me in your phone twice. Separate my CRM number comparison to my personal cell, because sometimes I can't get group text messages to my CRM, and sometimes people text message group text to there, and I don't want that to happen. I don't ever want you to wait. So the easiest way, literally right here, my personal cell phone. You call me, I pick up the phone. So text me with your full name to 619-723-7289. I'll save you in my phone. I'll reply back. I'll be in your phone, and we can send emojis for the rest of the afternoon, right? And the second way, if you ever need instant gratification, like let's say I'm on a Zoom call and there's an hour, or I'm in a meeting, which I only do maybe 1 to 2 presentations a week. But let's say there's a delay and you need, like, someone's in front of you. You need to talk to someone live. You call that second number, which will also be in my contact card, which is the bat line. It rings to 10 people on the sales side. They know someone's calling there. and someone needs a question right there. So they pick up the phone from that call. So those are first way. I prefer a group text, right? Because if we give the client, the option, they'll wait forever to call, make up the phone. So just do a simple group text. Jane meets Scott, Scott meets Jane. And then if you prefer email, you can do an email to the Scott Events team, and that will also be in my contact card. So let me see. Ahmed Casa Robles.
Yeah, I was going to say, quick question from Laura. She's in.
Easy. You ready, Laura? You want how you get conventional FHA jumbo deals with appraisals back in 5 days? It's this simple. How much does it cost to get the appraisal back within 4 days? Does it cost an extra $150, $200? I'd gladly pay for the additional costs. And it's not, these appraisers are not buried. And if they were buried, all it does, it comes down to money. So it's that simple, and we have the same appraisers in the same markets that we're using over and over, but it's what is it going to cost to get the appraisal back within this 5 days? And it literally comes down to $100 rush fee. It's that simple. Spanish speaking. I have 4 Spanish speaking team members that are on my team that operate as well. So anytime you need a Spanish speaking person, just send me a text message. Hey, Scott, I need a Spanish speaking, and I will pull my Spanish speaking team member that's available that because every day there's someone working till 9 o'clock and we have 4 different Spanish speaking, and I'll pull them right in because I don't want you to have to think about who's available at the time. I know who's available, who's on call in front of the computer to facilitate taking applications over the phone. So Diana, all you gotta do is text me. I got 4 Spanish speaking from the initial conversation, text message, all the way through closing in their preferred language, text, emails, conversations, all in Spanish.
Love that.
Perfect.
Yeah, Diana also said, thank you. Great presentation, knowledge with lots of value. And I think that that to me is what really comes through working with Scott is he's all about delivering massive value. Every time, I encourage you guys, check out his events, reach out to him. He's got scripts, he's got marketing materials. He's got really everything you guys need to be successful. And I think that's the difference between how a top loan officer can help you close more deals and do more business than just the average run-of-the-mill loan officer. And that's, again, why we really appreciate having Scott on the team, why I highly recommend you put him on your team as well. And definitely attend his future presentations and events because he's always thinking outside of the box. He's always adding massive value, and he's always getting creative with different things that he can help us as agents do to get more deals closed.
So I'm challenging y'all. I haven't got a single text message from any of you on the call. So I'm expecting after this call, every single one of you is going to send me a text message, except for Lisa. I have her on my phone already. You're all going to send me a text message with your full name. Just that's all I need to do. I'm going to save you in my phone, reply back with my contact card. So I got your not bad 55 minutes. I kept you guys entertained for 55 minutes. So also, please, if you found value, share on the Facebook. Don't keep me a secret to your other team members that are there. We are totally balanced, and I look forward to working with all of you. If you have any questions on the material that I went over, because I went over it really fast, I'd be happy to go over it one-on-one with you. Just literally just ping me, ask me. I will take the time to make sure any question that you have will go through. And so thank you all for your time. I look forward to continue winning for 2025. I mean, for 2024, and let's make a best year yet in 2025. So
absolutely. And just a couple more comments. You are a powerhouse. Thank you so much. And Lisa says, sent your intro out now to 2 buyers during the presentation. So that's awesome, Lisa. Thank you.
Lisa.
And great job taking action. And again, text Scott, stay in the loop, give him a shout out in the group, do all the things. Let's show him some love. And let's send him some business and put him on your team as well.
Thanks
you
again, Scott. All right. Bye.
Really appreciate it. See ya.